everyone, is the concept of biotechnology, nerve impulse generation and transmission, lecture 2. The nervous system in human beings and animals is very complex, and the system helps us to react to stimuli and respond in the right manner. The stimuli is the detectable change in the external or the internal environment. So there is exchange of information that occur between the various parts of the body through the nerves and the nerve cell. There is a nerve impulse is generated, and there is a change in permeability of the cell membrane, and that means maybe it's polarized, depolarized, and it's going to hyperpolarization, and the sodium ions flow inside and potassium ion flow outside. The cell is now depolarized, and this depolarization result is an action potential causes nerve impulse to move along the length of the axon. And this axons is what? Axon is a long thread-like part of the nerve cells, conduct electrical impulse and transmit the information to different neuron. So the transmission of the nerve impulse. The transmission of the nerve impulse along the neuron from one into other occur, and the result of electrical changes across the membrane of the neuron, and the membrane of unstimulated neuron is polarized. Polarized means more positive charges in one direction, or more positive ions in the one direction. Yes, the polarization is established by maintaining an excess of sodium ion outside and the potassium on inside. But the sodium potassium pump in the membrane is actively restore the ion to the appropriate site. And here you see this is the path of the nerve impulse. Now generation of the axon is the main part. The sodium channels open and the sodium ions enter the neuron, and the potassium channel open, then potassium ion leave the neuron. Is the charge restoration, and is the sodium potassium pump restore the original ion distribution. Here is the event, is the threshold, depolarization, is the action potential, change in the positive value, or the loss of resting membrane potential, that is a depolarization. And we are seeing the action potentials, repolarization, then resting potential, hyperpolarization. Hyperpolarization is a change in the cell membrane potential that make it more negative. Why does hyperpolarization happen? Due to ion channels in the membrane is open or closed. Opening of the channel that let positive ions flow out of the cell, or negative ions flow in cause the hyperpolarization. As the step 1 is the resting state. Is the neuron is not conducting impulse, and the potassium concentration is higher inside the cell than it is outside the cell. Here's the depolarization. We already discussed what is depolarization. Depolarization means the loss of resting membrane potential. The nerve cell is stimulated, and the inner surface of cell membrane is now more positive charges than the outside. Here we see the each positive charge sodium ion that is enter the axon, and axon is a long thread-like part of the nerve cells that transmit the information to different neuron. Here is the repolarization. Then step 3, when the cell membrane becomes depolarized, potassium automatically leave the cell, and until the cell is back into the complete resting stage. The impulse travel. Step 4, the quick movement of ion causes similar changes or the wave all across the cell down the axon. Is it on the axon? And then vertebrae opening are covered by the myelin sheath with opening. Transmission across the synapses is the neuron do not touch the axon terminal, stop before reaching the dendrite to the next neuron, and the gap between these two neurons is known as synapses, and the impulse are carried out across the synapses and the neurotransmitter, that is a chemical messenger. As a step 6 is a refractory period, and this is the stage where the neuron takes time to go back into the resting potential after being stimulated, and the neuron cannot be stimulated during its process of refractory, and the period of time is quick and effective to the neuron as it does not take long or the hard work to go back into the resting stage.